Now before you get into this video, I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer, and I know I'm shooting this really weird, it's vlog style, but I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer that this was technically our very first review. Yes, Star Trek was our first uploaded video, but this review right here that you are about to watch for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was our very first review that we ever recorded, and obviously it looks different. We were living in a different place. This is before we moved in here. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's very awkward in my opinion, so have fun, enjoy. Let me know what you think. Hey everyone, welcome to Married Movie Reviews. My name is Mike.
And I'm Karen, and we are married, and we review movies.
And today, we're reviewing Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
So for anyone watching, this is your chance to turn off whatever media you have, because there's spoilers in it, so you have been warned.
It's come out a couple months ago, so if you haven't seen it by now, you should go see it. Star Wars The Force Awakens takes place roughly 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, both in real time and in the story. It stars all the original cast: Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and a bunch of newcomers. Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, Jon Boyega, who plays Finn, Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, and Oscar Isaacs playing Poe Dameron. I liked it. It was a little overhyped, but you know, it was definitely a fun ride, an enjoyable film, and I would go see it again in a heartbeat. We actually did see it twice, so
we might even buy it when it comes out.
We will definitely buy it. Definitely buy it. So what were your initial thoughts?
I liked it, but my expectations were really high, considering I grew up with them and watched them over and over and over again. But I liked it. I smiled through a lot of it. I was excited when the first opening credits came up, and you know, the scrolling, it was exciting. But it was a lot different not having the Fox film intro.
Yes.
Now that Disney has the rights to Star Wars, it was
just silent.
Just a little bit anticlimactic for sitting in the theater watching it, like, yes, it's gonna come on, and then it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, I forgot.
It just kind of starts.
Yes, it just kind of starts. And you're like, oh great, there isn't that like hype of the stereotypical Fox theme music. It was just missing that little piece. But as far as the movie goes, I liked it. I thought they did a really good job of meshing the old Star Wars and creating a new set for the new foundation for the newer Star Wars. They did a very good job, you know, comparing the old ones and making the characters, developing them for the upcoming set of movies. So I liked it. The
first line in the movie, spoken by the old guy, I forget who plays him, but he's basically handing Oscar Isaac's character, Poe Dameron, some plans. I mean, we eventually find out that it's the map to Luke Skywalker, and he says, "This will begin to make things right." And that is a clear jab to George Lucas in the prequels.
Which I think is well-deserved.
Yes, absolutely.
However, I do pity George Lucas. I think he's made some poor decisions in this.
Selling Star Wars.
Yep.
Is a big...
And I think he regrets it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
I don't regret his decision.
I think hardcore fans, though, appreciated it, because then they're like, oh, yep, this is the beginning of something. I think J.J. Abrams, awesome pick for this film in particular.
Yeah. Story-wise, I think it was a little too close to A New Hope, whereas, I mean, if you were to compare the stories, they would pretty much line up. You got the plans in the droid, you got the people attacking the good guys.
You've got the rebel forces, the separatists, the whatever.
Yeah, starting on a desert planet, leaving in the Millennium Falcon.
The little puppy dog droid.
Yeah. But, I mean, if you're going to copy off of a story, Star Wars is a pretty good story to copy off of.
And considering it's 30 years later, with new characters and new things, I think it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, people can just jab at it. They're going to jab at it any which way they want to.
Yeah.
So, I think it's okay to do that.
Things I didn't like were the Starkiller base, which is basically just a bigger Death Star. And
Starkiller, Death Star, same thing.
The Death Star in the original one kind of made you scared when you saw what it could do. It could blow up an entire planet. This one...
Does that mean you didn't get scared with the Starkiller base?
No, I didn't, because I knew it was going to be destroyed. I mean, you've seen episode 4 and 6. They destroy the Death Star, so it's like, well, of course they're going to destroy this. They do. Spoiler. We already warned you. But the Starkiller base, yes, it destroys 5-ish, I think, planets.
At once?
At once. So,
which scientifically is probably very impossible to come up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's scientifically impossible to make the Starkiller base or the Death Star,
That's
too.
true.
I mean, but, you know, it created a lot of jobs, and with this kind of economy...
Let's talk a little bit about the cameos.
The cameos.
I loved the fact that Daniel Craig was the one that Rey used her Force ability on, because I didn't even notice it the first time. But after we did some research and things on it, it was like, his number was 007. It was a clear
JB007.
James Bond reference, and I love that. It just created some fun atmosphere for you to watch the movie in, because everybody knows it's Star Wars. You aren't expecting anything different. It's Star Wars, so let's put some fun things in and not take ourselves too seriously. Like, I think George Lucas did when they first tried to reboot the Star Wars with the first, second, and third episodes. Not a huge fan of those. I like the old ones better. But all that aside to say, that's exactly. But I liked that. I mean, it was good.
Yeah. The acting seemed a little too excited. I mean,
from some characters, I think.
From some characters, especially from Jon Boyega, Finn. He just seems, and Oscar Isaacs, they both seem to be way too excited to be in a Star Wars film. Especially at the beginning, when Kylo Ren stops the shot from Oscar Isaac's character, and he like brings him over and he's about to question him, and Poe Dameron's like, who talks first? Do you talk first? Do I talk first? It didn't seem like a Star Wars film at that point, which was a little distracting, but it was good at the same time. And while we're on the same vein of Poe Dameron, I felt like his character was not in it enough. He needed to be in it a lot more.
I definitely agree with having him be at the beginning for a short time to drive the story, and then at the end to finish up the story.
Yeah.
But I also think that was necessary in order for them to develop the characters in between. Now, I do think that as far as character development, that Han Solo should not have been developed so much, even though it's a tribute, and since you've already been warned that when he dies, it's just, you still feel something, but you're going to feel something because it's Han Solo. You don't need to go into detail with his character, especially since, in my opinion, when we're on the ship, when you first see him and the whole thing goes on with those monsters, I forget what they're called because I'm not as big a nerd as you are.
The Wrath
But it was kind of a bit ridiculous and a little too playful, I think. But at the same point,
that scene was way too Men in Black for me.
Yes.
Way too Men in Black.
Yeah. And having him be more of the father figure now in this, you kind of lost a little respect. Literally. I kind of lost a little respect for him at certain points where I was like, this is the smuggler we know and love. This is him. What happened to you? You know, and yeah, and there wasn't a whole lot of backstory with him and Leia, and you're kind of like, I'm sorry, I thought you'd already been through all of that garbage in the first films.
Yeah.
But,
Smoky Leia.
But it's fine. Yeah. Carrie Fisher, as much as I think they did a really good job making her look like Princess Leia,
yes.
Her hair was annoying and her voice was annoying. Had she not had so many lines, I think I would have been fine with it. Yeah. And had she not moved her head so much and done certain things. Plus, if we're talking about this anyway, the character relation between her and Rey, there was none until the very end when they hug and she's all of a sudden her grandmother.
Yeah.
But
well,
not really her grandmother. Figuratively her grandmother. So I think that segued nicely into what we enjoy about the film. Yeah. Because we've been talking very negatively so far. Yeah. So what we really liked about the film was the fact that they bring up so much questions and things about, okay, who is this Rey person? Because we don't know her family history or her heritage or her ancestry at all. Maybe. However, there are lots of theories out there, and I would suggest you go check them out somewhere because they're very interesting to be able to read about and to speculate on, because this is what I enjoy about getting the deeper stuff about the film, because Rey could be anybody, first of all, but she could be somebody of more significance than we think. And there's two different options. She could be a Skywalker, which I'm not sure why a Skywalker would leave a Skywalker on a sandy planet, considering that's where they came from. Yeah, it's kind of obvious. But to make my opinion known, that she also could potentially be a Kenobi, which, in my humble opinion, would be fantastic because that would change the entire outlook and lens through which we watch the Star Wars films. Knowing that the Skywalker family is supposed to be the destined ones to bring balance to the Force, and then all of a sudden, wait a second. Whoa, mind blown. This could be a Kenobi. And there's lots of different things. Why don't you go into the little hints that she might be a Kenobi? The evidence for Rey being a Kenobi include... One, she has an accent. Now, we know that Jon Boyega literally has an accent in real life, but he doesn't get an accent in the movie, so it was deliberate to give her an accent. Her clothing, very similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's not forget, when she does mind control the James Bond 007 Stormtrooper, that is Obi-Wan Kenobi's signature Jedi ability. You see it in episode 4 where he's like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. You see it in episode 2 when he's like, you don't want to sell me death sticks. And you want to go home. You want to go home and rethink your life. She mind controls 007 and says, you will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open. And at first it doesn't work. And then she gets more confident. She does it. She makes him leave. And then she's like, and you'll drop your gun. And he drops his gun. And that was great. The other thing... There's a lot more. Yeah. The other thing that I think is important to note is that even though I don't necessarily like the first, second, and third episodes, they do allude to some of those things with Obi-Wan, when he's young Obi-Wan. He is still a prodigy, if you will. He's still a young Jedi, ready for the trials, being able to go in and be the Master Jedi. The only thing spoken for Anakin, little Anakin, is his midichlorian count. That's the only thing he's got. Obi-Wan has all these other things, and... Experience and talent, raw talent for being a Jedi. And Rey kind of is reflecting that a little bit, because she picks up on things very quickly, and even Kylo Ren picks up on that. Yeah. When they're in the forest, and then they're in the other forest. Now, being a woman, I think it's pretty awesome that we finally have a girl Jedi be the main Jedi, even though she's not a Jedi yet. Not a Jedi yet. Anyway. But I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. Another big piece of evidence that Rey is a Kenobi is the fact that the lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, calls to her and communicates, and that's basically her beginning of being a Jedi. And if you really think about it, who had that lightsaber the longest? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because, you might want to say Anakin had it the longest, but really, he didn't. His original lightsaber got destroyed in episode 2 in the factory, if we're really considering the prequels as canon. And he doesn't get that lightsaber back until the Clone Wars. I don't know how long those exactly take. He has it through episode 3, and then
Obi-Wan Kenobi takes it from him after cutting off his arms and legs. So he goes into exile, Obi-Wan, for a good 20-some years until
And what's he going to do in that time?
Yeah.
He's going to have to... I think he could potentially have children who have children, which could be Rey. So there's that opening window, backstory gap that could very well potentially be filled with our fancy.
Yeah. So Luke only had it for 2 movies. A movie and a half. A New Hope, when Obi-Wan gives it to him, and then when his hand gets cut off in Cloud City in Episode 5. Ewan McGregor had a cameo saying, "These are your first steps, Rey," in her Force vision. So, yeah. It's a lot of evidence.
I also like that, how they kind of brought the Force more into the visual spectrum, as opposed to the other movies where you just kind of had to think it was there, you know, when they're moving rocks and ships and things, or when they're using the mind meld. There's a Trekkie coming out. But just those things that you can actually see the visions instead of just watching Yoda on his little mat go, yes, much fear I sense in you. So, I mean, I liked that.
Yeah.
I think cinematically it was very well done. I also liked Mark Hamill for the 30 seconds to a minute he was in there. He looked awesome.
He did look awesome.
A little grubby, a little dirty, but he's been alone on this island for who knows how long.
Yeah. And the people who were disappointed with his appearance in the movie, him being in it for about 30 seconds, were we ever really told that he was going to be in it very much? He wasn't on the posters, he wasn't in the previews, other than that one shot of him touching R2-D2, but we weren't lied to or anything. It's just we built it up in our heads a little too much, thinking that, Luke's going to be in it. Now, I didn't think that at first, but when I saw the opening crawl saying, "Luke Skywalker has vanished," I'm like, he might be in this. So what was your favorite part from the movie?
I'm going to have to think about that for a second. Why don't you go? What was your
My favorite part was the reveal of the Millennium Falcon. When Rey and Finn are being chased through that little town, and Rey's like, "We're taking that ship." And Finn's like, "Well, what about that ship?" And he's like, "That's garbage." Rey says, "That ship's garbage." So their ship gets blown up, and then she's like, "The garbage will do." Pan over, it's the Millennium Falcon. That was brilliant.
I thought it was brilliant.
Absolutely
brilliant. That was pretty good. Especially because you weren't really expecting that. We were just assuming that they were going to the Millennium Falcon and leave the other ship behind, but then it says what a piece of junk, you know. It was a subtle...
That was a great tie-in to the
Well,
original.
it wasn't so subtle, but it was a tribute to the old ones, which I enjoyed, you know. And I was hoping that there wasn't going to be a whole lot of that because, like I said, Star Wars' name has just been out there for 30 years, 40 years, and it just kind of has its own reputation. You don't really need to allude back to it, but I thought they did an okay job doing that. Being the melancholy person that I am, and I might get a lot of hate mail for this, but my favorite part was actually when Han Solo died.
Ooh. Simply
because it brought up all those emotions, and you're just like, you just felt this emptiness that I loved how they could do that on screen. Like, they bring you through this whole thing and all the parallels to the old movie with the father and son thing on the track in the middle of this vast abyss. All of that aside, it was like this father-son moment where it was just like, oh my gosh, is he going to help his son turn back to the good side? Because you know this conflict is going on with Kylo Ren, and Han Solo's finally realizing his, failures or setbacks as a father, and then he's trying to help him, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, Kylo Ren, no. And then it just happens, and you knew it was coming, but to have it still be surprising in that moment was I thought very good. And then, of course, to have Chewbacca in the background the whole time, I thought was very clever because he's the closest thing Han Solo has. Yeah. Even with his son being in front of him. Chewbacca they're the duo. You can't do one without the other. So his, little was...
That left a little something to be desired.
It did, but I still...
That was the weakest part of that.
Yeah. But you have to admit, you knew...
I wanted more of it.
You knew his death was coming as soon as he gave the detonator to Chewbacca. Yeah. Because you're like, why else would he give it to him? It has to do with the story. But, again, all that aside, it was still my favorite part. I felt it was a great... I don't mean to say great death, but it was just a very...
It was a good death.
It was a good death, yes. And...
I felt like we didn't have enough time to mourn for him, though.
I felt like that, too.
And
I also felt like Leia didn't really care too much.
No. And it also should have been Chewie that hugged Leia, not Rey hugging Leia, because...
Yeah. Chewie just walks right by her, and she doesn't even acknowledge he's there. He's just a big walking carpet.
Yep. And that's what he deserves to be called now, for just passing Leia. Your best friend, her husband, just died. And you're just going to walk right past her and be like, whatever.
But I don't think that was Chewie's fault. I think that had to do with the writers or...
Yeah. But
that's the little hole that you find where you're just like, in reality, I feel like Chewbacca and Leia would have had some reunion after that at some point.
Well, he hugged her when he first saw her. But when she first came to the planet where they met Maz and they got attacked.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, Leia doesn't even acknowledge Chewbacca. She goes right to Rey, and it's like, what?
Didn't make sense to me.
All that aside, it's okay. I still liked it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Kylo Ren.
Oh, yeah.
He's an awesome villain at the beginning. He was just, you're like, oh my gosh, it was somewhat reminiscent of Darth Vader, but I think they were supposed to be like that with the mask and the voice and everything.
I'll be honest.
He was awesome.
I personally like him better than Darth Vader. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. But, I mean, if you really think about the first movie that Darth Vader was in, he didn't have much depth at all. He was just a bad guy. He just has a few lines, tear this ship apart, and Simon passengers.
Ruthless.
Bring him to me. I want him alive. And then he just has that part where he chokes the guy and let him go. And
I still think
he kills Obi-Wan. I mean, there's not much depth there. Really the only line of depth that we get from Darth Vader is, when last we met, I was but the learner, but now I'm the master. I mean, that's really all the depth that you get. Kylo Ren, you get a lot of depth with him. I mean, you see his struggle, that he wants to stay on the dark side, but he's being called to the good side. And his father's coming to get him instead of his son. I think there's a lot more depth there. We'll see where the story goes in episode 8 and 9.
And I completely disagree with you. I think Darth Vader has so much more depth considering his backstory and what he's been through.
Right.
But Kylo Ren is different in the fact that he's an awesome villain at the beginning, where he's ruthless, he's very calculated and menacing and just does anything without a second thought. Then all of a sudden we get this angsty teen
Darth Millennial.
That's having a temper tantrum and ruins this entire console of weapons or whatever it happens to be in the ship, where he's just smashing it to pieces. Temper tantrum with his lightsaber after something didn't quite work out his way, and I was just like, whoa, angsty teen, go to your room and just cry it out. Go. But I think that brought him a little lower in my opinion. Had they kept him a little longer without the angsty teen, I think I would have liked it better. Now, the actor, though, was pretty good. I just have to say that I was very, very disappointed when he took his mask off. I was like, oh. I was hoping for something else. But again, I think they were trying to make him look like an angsty teen. So hopefully he'll do some growing in between now and the next film. And then he will be, again, the menacing, great character that we are coming to know and love.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about...
Let's talk about the droids. The droids, BB-8, he was cute.
He was cute.
He was a little too cute. I mean, they ended up treating him like a little puppy, especially at the end, like when R2-D2 wakes up, which we'll talk about in a second. He kind of rolls up and he's like, "Hey, I can help, but I need the little thingy that you were using to look at the Star Killer base or whatever." And Poe Dameron's like, "What's that, buddy? Oh, I'll go get it for you." And like, feeds him the little chip, and it's like, "Oh, here's Luke Skywalker." And it was a little.
Yeah, he was like a little
cute
puppy dog. Whereas, like when they treated R2-D2 sort of like that in the first films.
Yeah.
Where R2, But they
R2!
also counted on R2 for a lot of things. I don't think they relied so much on BB-8, even though he was a very integral part of the story without really being integral.
Yeah.
But he was cute. And the thing that I'm impressed with was when the trailer first came out, I was like, "Oh, that's the droid? Really? That's not, no, I don't like that at all." But then I found out it's an actual droid.
Yeah,
it really
cool.
rolls around. And I was like, "Oh, okay, now I like you." Like maybe
Not
that's a
all
little
CGI.
Maybe a little shallow, but it was a real thing. It really moves like that, and I think that raised my respect a little bit.
You
Although I
get to
don't
respect
understand on Jakku why the sand didn't clog him up a little bit, but it was still okay.
Hey.
And
cool.
As an astro droid, I felt like he was good for the story, but not a very efficient design for a droid. But I thought it was good, and he's part of the string that moves the story along a little bit. And Rey could have sold him for food and everything she needed at the beginning, and chose not to because
he's so cute.
She's a Kenobi and needs a droid. Little plug there again.
Yeah. So R2-D2 was in like some kind of stasis sleep mode for reasons, because the story demanded it.
For reasons.
And we didn't need two cute droids the entire movie, so we're like, okay, let's make R2-D2 go to sleep for a long time because Luke Skywalker's gone. It didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think it was for story's sake, so I will suspend my disbelief a little bit. I was not as disappointed at that as I was with C-3PO's red arm for absolutely no reason. There was no explanation. There was no, and then he just was fixed. It was like, what is that going to come back in a later film?
Well, he
is it
brings
going
it
to
up
be
too.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, you probably don't recognize me because of my red arm."
And you're like,
okay, explanation.
C-3PO, yeah. Well, I think it was meant for comic relief.
I think so.
But it didn't work out so well because the first 3 episodes ruined C-3PO's comic relief, honestly, because he just was like...
Too much.
Droids, machines making machines. How perverse. And then you're like, what are you talking about? So, anyway, I that was a little disappointing. But I think Star Wars needs a droid, so BB-8 was the ticket, and I think he did a good job.
Yeah. The action in the movie is by far the best action in any Star Wars film, except for maybe Episode 3. While it's not the greatest Star Wars movie, Episode 3 had some pretty good action scenes, you have to admit. Mm-hmm. Especially the lightsaber fight scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan. That was pretty impressive. This one had some great visuals in the fight scenes. It had a lot of dog fights going on. Lightsaber battle was pretty cool. I liked that Finn is untrained with it, so basically he would lose every single encounter that he would fight in, like with the Stormtrooper. If he hadn't been shot, he probably would have lost. He lost to Kylo Ren pretty quickly. His back got all sliced up.
I have to admit, there was that sense of excitement, like, oh my gosh, there's a stormtrooper with a lightsaber, and he, cool. holds it up, and it's got the glow on his face and everything. Like, I love that.
That was
and
cool.
I know you don't, because we've talked about it before, but I liked the way the lightsabers looked. They were different from the other ones, but they were still close. I liked the fact that Kylo Ren's was a little more like uncontrolled light, where it had these little wisps and like almost like sun spurts coming off of it every once in a while.
Like it was very roughly made.
Yeah, and and even the blue one, Luke's lightsaber still had the little, specks of light coming off of it because it's radiating light. It's like it's going to slice through everything it comes into contact with, instead of just being a clean beam, like the original, which is fine because that's what they had back then. Yeah. But I liked that difference in it. And the sound design in this was also very cool. They brought out more of the lightsabers without it being overpowering. And the different sounds they can get with the actual hitting lightsaber to lightsaber, with it slicing the trees down, with it landing in the snow and things like that. I thought they did a great job with changing up the sound a little bit so it wasn't the same old wom, 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 which would have been fine if it was the same old.
Yeah, that would have been fine. I'd have been
because
perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, but just that subtle difference, I think, was really good. Yeah. The music in this, I liked.
Especially Rey's theme.
Rey's theme was good. Yeah. And
it had a little bit of Harry Potter-ish to it at the beginning.
I felt like that too. And I think John Williams always does a really great job of creating original themes for things.
Yes.
But which I liked in this film, but this one was a lot less Star Wars feeling than the other ones, but I still liked it. And I think, like you said, the Rey's theme was really, really great. And it was still very epic, and with all of the mass space battles and the lightsaber duels, I think it was good. I don't think it was as iconic as a lot of the other Star Wars films could be.
Not yet, at least.
Right.
Give it a couple years and the themes might pop back up in future movies. Yeah. And we'll be like, that's from the first one.
But again, like I said, I was very disappointed without having the Fox theme at the beginning. Yeah. I felt like it was missing something. I felt like a little piece had just died. But that's just me, because I like the Fox theme. I mean, since this is Married Movie Reviews, our Fox theme, we had a Fox theme at our wedding.
Before our grand entrance to our reception.
Into our reception. It was the Fox.
Cool. So, overall, how would you rate Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
I'd give it a B+. B+? I think as far as cinematics goes and as far as character development and actual story, I think it was pretty good. My expectations were not quite met, but overall I really liked it, and I would see it many more times to come, and I think I will enjoy watching it more and more.
When I first saw it, I was going to give it a solid A. Not an A+, because, I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it's not a bad movie either, but the second time through, I'd have to say B+ as well, because I'm still riding the hype train a little bit, and I can point out all the things that I don't like about it, especially the Rathtar scene. But overall, it was a fun ride, and I would see it again in a heartbeat, in 3D, IMAX, you name it, I'll spend all the money and go see it.
We would spend all the monies.
We would spend all the monies.
And
we're definitely going to buy it as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray.
And we are going to go see every other Star Wars film from here on out, because there are 7 more.
There are, let's see, there's Rogue One, Episode 8, Han Solo, Episode 9, and I think they're going to make one more after that. I don't remember which one.
I'm not good at the math.
But they're going to make a few more after that, probably. I mean, it's Disney.
Yeah.
They're going to make a whole other trilogy.
They're going to milk it.
So it's going to be these 3 films, the side films, and then they're probably going to make another trilogy just because they can. They're rich. They don't need the money. But why not take it?
Merchandise, it's all.
Merchandise, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like this, you can click here and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.
Or if you have another movie you'd like us to review, please comment in the comment section below. Thanks.
Bye.